Welcome to the 23rd episode of Proofless, where we delve into the heart of America's unsolved mysteries, cases that linger in the shadows, confounding investigators and leaving families with questions that echo through decades. I'm your host, Anna Berger, and today we're journeying to a coastal city in Florida where a vibrant teenager vanished, turning a community's sense of safety upside down and sparking a search that continues to this day. We're exploring the 1982 disappearance of Tina Marie McQuaig, a 16-year-old from Jacksonville who went missing after leaving her home for a walk, leaving behind a trail of fragmented clues and a case that remains proofless due to the absence of her body and unanswered questions about her fate. This is a story of a young woman full of dreams, a fleeting moment that changed everything, and a family's relentless pursuit of the truth. So, settle in for an in-depth dive into a mystery that haunts and compels. Jacksonville in 1982, a city of contrasts. Let's set the scene. It's March 1982 in Jacksonville, Florida, a sprawling port city on the Atlantic coast, known for its sandy beaches, bustling riverfront, and a blend of urban energy and southern charm. With a population of about 550,000, Jacksonville is a hub of commerce and culture, its neighborhoods ranging from the historic Riverside District with its bohemian cafes to the working-class suburbs of Arlington, where strip malls, fast food joints, and modest single-story homes line busy roads like Fort Caroline and Merrill. The city pulses with the optimism of the early 1980s. Ronald Reagan is in his second year as president. MTV is reshaping youth culture with music videos from Michael Jackson and the Police, and Jacksonville's economy thrives on its port, naval bases, and growing tech sector. Yet, beneath this vibrancy lies an undercurrent of unease. Crime rates are climbing, with the FBI's 1982 Uniform Crime Report noting a rise in violent crimes in Florida's urban centers, including abductions and assaults, often targeting young women. Jacksonville, with its sprawling highways and transient population, is not immune. Arlington, where the McQuaig family resides, is a quintessential middle-class enclave. Lone Star Road, their street, is lined with ranch-style homes, many adorned with American flags and flower beds. The neighborhood is tight-knit, with block parties and church picnics at Arlington Baptist, but it's also close to busier arteries like Fort Caroline Road, where convenience stores and gas stations attract a mix of locals and passers-through. The 7-Eleven on Fort Caroline, a short walk from the McQuaig's home, is a hub for teens, stocked with Slurpees, comic books, and magazines like Tiger Beat. It's a place where kids like Tina feel safe, but in 1982, the lack of streetlights and surveillance cameras leaves these roads vulnerable after dusk. The St. Johns River, winding through the city, adds both beauty and mystery. Its murky depths and nearby marshes, like the Timucun Preserve, are vast and untamed, capable of hiding secrets. Tina Marie McQuaig, a life full of promise. Tina Marie McQuaig is a 16-year-old sophomore at Terry Parker High School, a bright, spirited girl with a love for life. Born on April 12, 1965, to William and Barbara McQuaig, Tina is the youngest of 4 siblings, with 2 older brothers, James and Robert, and an older sister, Linda. With her shoulder-length auburn hair, brown eyes, and freckled smile, Tina is known for her infectious energy, her passion for cheerleading, and her dream of becoming a veterinarian. She's a straight-A student, a member of the school's cheer squad, and a volunteer at a local animal shelter, where she spends weekends caring for stray dogs, often sneaking them extra treats. Her compassion for animals is boundless. She's been known to stop on her walks to pet neighborhood cats or sketch squirrels in her notebook, dreaming of one day opening her own veterinary clinic. Tina's life is a portrait of 1980s teenage dreams. Her father, William, a mechanic at a local garage, is a gruff but loving man who spends evenings tinkering with engines in the driveway. Her mother, Barbara, a bank teller at First Union, is the family's anchor, known for her homemade meatloaf and meticulous budgeting to support 4 kids. The McQuaigs live in a single-story home on Lone Star Road, its walls decorated with family photos and Tina's cheerleading ribbons. Tina is close with her siblings. She and Linda share late-night talks about boys and fashion, while James, the eldest, teaches her to change a tire on his motorcycle, and Robert, the quiet one, plays Monopoly with her on rainy Sundays. At school, Tina is a social butterfly, organizing pep rallies, cheering at football games, and sketching animals in the margins of her biology notes. Her favorite subject is science, and her teachers describe her as curious and determined, always asking questions about animal anatomy or ecosystems. Outside school, Tina works part-time at a Dairy Queen on Merrill Road, scooping ice cream and saving for a used Pontiac Firebird, a sleek black model she circled in a classified ad. Her free time is spent at Jacksonville Beach, where she roller skates along the boardwalk, her Walkman blaring Journey's Escape or REO Speedwagon. Friends describe her as adventurous but responsible. She loves late-night drives with her best friend, Kelly, a fellow cheerleader, cruising down Atlantic Boulevard with the windows down, singing to "Don't Stop Believin'." Yet Tina always calls home by her 10 p.m. curfew, a rule Barbara enforces strictly. In early 1982, Tina is dating Brian, a junior and football player at Terry Parker. Their relationship is casual: school dances, group outings to the movies, and shared milkshakes at Dairy Queen. But Brian's teammates tease him about Tina's spirited personality stealing the show at games. Tina's world is one of promise, but there are hints of vulnerability. Kelly later recalls that Tina mentioned feeling uneasy about a customer at Dairy Queen who'd linger at the counter asking personal questions. The man, described as in his 20s with a scruffy beard, asked Tina out once, which she politely declined. Afterward, she received several hang-up calls during her shifts, the phone ringing with no one on the other end. Tina shrugged it off as a prank, but Kelly noticed her friend grew cautious, glancing over her shoulder when closing the store. These small details, insignificant at the time, would later haunt the investigation. The night of March 15th, 1982. On the evening of March 15th, 1982, Jacksonville is warm and humid, with temperatures in the low 70s and a soft breeze from the St. Johns River. The sun sets around 6:30 p.m., casting a golden haze over Arlington's quiet streets, though fog begins to roll in from the river, reducing visibility. Tina finishes her homework at the kitchen table around 6:30 p.m., her biology textbook open to a chapter on canine anatomy. She tells Barbara she's going for a walk to the 7-Eleven on Fort Caroline Road, about a half-mile away, to buy a Coke and a 17 magazine. Dressed in a pink t-shirt, blue jeans, white ked sneakers, and a denim jacket with a small embroidered flower, Tina grabs her wallet and a small flashlight, a precaution for the dimly lit roads. Barbara, stirring a pot of chili for dinner, reminds her to stick to Fort Caroline Road and avoid shortcuts through vacant lots. "Be back by 7:30, honey," Barbara says, and Tina nods, her auburn hair bouncing as she heads out the door. The walk to the 7-Eleven is routine for Tina, a path she's taken dozens of times. Lone Star Road is quiet, with occasional cars passing and the hum of cicadas in the air. A neighbor, Mrs. Evelyn Carter, a retired schoolteacher, sees Tina around 6:45 p.m., walking briskly under the streetlights, her flashlight beam cutting through the fog. Mrs. Carter, watering her azaleas, waves, and Tina waves back, calling out, "Just grabbing a soda." At the 7-Eleven, clerk Tommy Hargrove, a 19-year-old college student, notices Tina around 7 p.m. She's cheerful, chatting about a new Madonna song playing on the radio as she pays for a Coke and a 17 magazine with a crumpled dollar bill. Hargrove recalls her leaving around 7:05 p.m., heading back toward Lone Star Road, the magazine tucked under her arm. This is the last confirmed sighting of Tina Marie McQuaig. The disappearance and initial response. When Tina doesn't return by 8 p.m., Barbara grows uneasy. She calls Kelly, who hasn't seen Tina since school, and Brian, who is at football practice. Barbara checks the 7-Eleven, but Hargrove confirms Tina left an hour earlier. By 9 p.m., the McQuaigs call the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, JSO, reporting Tina missing. Officer Daniel Ruiz takes the report, noting Tina's description. 5 feet 4 inches, 120 pounds. Auburn hair, brown eyes, last seen in a pink t-shirt and denim jacket. The JSO initially classifies her as a potential runaway, a common label for missing teens in 1982, given the era's limited understanding of abductions. William, furious, insists Tina would never run away. She had no history of rebellion. Her savings were untouched, and her beloved sketchbook and cheer uniform were still in her room. Barbara, clutching Tina's photo, tells Ruiz, "She's out there, and something's wrong." The next morning, March 16th, a jogger named Paul Dorsey, a 30-year-old accountant, finds Tina's flashlight in a grassy ditch near the corner of Fort Caroline and Merrill Roads, about 300 yards from the 7-Eleven. The flashlight, a silver Eveready model, is cracked but still works, its batteries intact. Dorsey, aware of the missing girl from a radio report, calls the JSO. Detective Frank Mackesy, a 15-year veteran with a reputation for tenacity, takes charge. Mackesy's team combs the area, a busy intersection surrounded by a gas station, a vacant lot, and a strip mall. Volunteers, neighbors, classmates, and members of Arlington Baptist Church join the search, fanning out across ditches, wooded lots, and the banks of the St. Johns River, calling Tina's name. On March 17th, a dog walker, 62-year-old Henry Mills, finds Tina's denim jacket, torn at the sleeve, in a vacant lot off Merrill Road, 200 meters from the flashlight. Barbara confirms it's Tina's, recognizing the embroidered flower she'd sewn on herself. The jacket is sent to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement FDLE lab, but analysis reveals no blood or DNA, only soil and grass fibers consistent with the lot. The discoveries escalate the case to a suspected abduction, and the JSO sets up a command post at the Arlington precinct, with Mackesy coordinating dozens of officers. The investigation unfolds. The JSO retraces Tina's last movements with precision. Tommy Hargrove, the 7-Eleven clerk, confirms Tina was alone, showing no signs of distress. He recalls a man in his 20s wearing a dark hoodie entering the store shortly before Tina, but leaving without buying anything. Hargrove's description is vague, medium height, dark hair, but he notes the man seemed to watch Tina from the candy aisle. Mrs. Carter, the neighbor, provides a chilling detail. Around 6:50 p.m., she saw a man in a dark hoodie walking behind Tina on Lone Star Road, about 20 feet back, his hands in his pockets. The fog and dim streetlights obscured his face, and Carter assumed he was a neighbor until he veered into a side street. A third witness, a delivery driver named Carlos Rivera, reports seeing a girl resembling Tina near Merrill Road at 7:15 p.m., walking with a man described as 5'11", thin with short dark hair and a leather jacket. Rivera, delivering pizzas, couldn't stop due to his schedule, and the poor lighting left him uncertain. These accounts, while compelling, are frustratingly inconclusive, as 1982 forensic technology offers little to work with. No CCTV, no cell phone pings, no DNA databases. Mackesy interviews Tina's inner circle. Brian, her boyfriend, was at football practice until 8 p.m., his alibi confirmed by Coach Ed Larson and 12 teammates. Kelly, Tina's best friend, tearfully recounts the hang-up calls at Dairy Queen, which Tina had mentioned in February. Kelly describes them as frequent, 3 or 4 per shift, always silent, with heavy breathing before the line went dead. She recalls Tina joking, "Maybe it's a secret admirer," but her unease was evident. The JSO questions Dairy Queen co-workers, focusing on a regular customer, described as a scruffy man in his 20s, who'd flirted with Tina. The manager, Linda Hayes, identifies him as a local named Ronnie Hayes, a 28-year-old construction worker. The JSO canvasses Fort Caroline Road, finding a partial tire track in the mud near the vacant lot, but overnight rain on March 15th washes away details, rendering it useless for casting. Cadaver dogs, brought in on March 18th, alert to a scent in the vacant lot near the jacket, suggesting human remains or biological material, but a 2-day excavation uncovers only trash: soda cans, cigarette butts, and a rusted bicycle wheel. community, and media response. Tina's disappearance grips Jacksonville, dominating headlines in the Florida Times-Union and nightly broadcasts on WJXT TV. A March 18, 1982, front-page article, "Arlington Teen Vanishes Without a Trace," includes Tina's yearbook photo, her freckled smile tugging at readers' hearts. The McQuaigs appear on Action News Jax on March 19th, William's voice breaking as he pleads, "If you know anything, bring our girl home." Barbara, clutching a flyer with Tina's photo, adds, "She's our baby. We just want answers." The family offers a $5,000 reward, funded by their savings, which grows to $75,000 by April, with donations from Arlington businesses, including Dairy Queen and a local car dealership. Tips pour in. A trucker claims he saw a girl resembling Tina at a rest stop near St. Augustine, 40 miles south on March 16th. A cashier at an Orange Park gas station reports a nervous teen with auburn hair on March 17th. JSO detectives chase each lead, but none pan out. Most are mistaken identities or vague sightings. The community rallies. Terry Parker High holds a candlelight vigil on March 20th, with 300 students and teachers gathering in the football field where Tina once cheered. Pastor John Reynolds of Arlington Baptist leads a prayer, calling Tina a light in our community. Volunteers distribute 10,000 flyers across Jacksonville, from the beaches to downtown, stapling them to telephone poles and slipping them under windshield wipers. The effort is grassroots but relentless, with Tina's cheerleading squad, led by Kelly, canvassing malls and boardwalks. The media amplifies the story, with WJAX Radio hosting a call-in show where listeners share theories, from runaways to abductions. A PM magazine segment in April profiles the McQuaigs, showing Tina's room, her pom-poms on the bed, her sketches of dogs pinned to a corkboard, humanizing the tragedy. National outlets pick up the story, with Good Morning America featuring a segment in May 1982, prompting tips from as far as Georgia and South Carolina. The FBI joins the investigation on March 22nd, citing the possibility of interstate travel, given Jacksonville's proximity to I-95 and its port. Agents focus on the trafficking angle, as Florida's 1982 FBI crime statistics note a rise in missing persons cases linked to coastal cities. Divers search the St. Johns River near Arlington, navigating its 15-foot depths and strong currents, while helicopters equipped with infrared scan the intracoastal waterway and the Timucuan Preserve's 46,000 acres of marshes and forests. No trace of Tina emerges, and by April 1982, the JSO reclassifies the case as a suspected homicide, though the absence of a body or forensic evidence stalls progress. Mackesy, in a Florida Times-Union interview, admits, "We're chasing shadows. We need a break, a witness, a confession, something." Suspects and theories. The JSO pursues several suspects, each lead a mix of hope and frustration. Ronald "Ronnie" Hayes, the 28-year-old construction worker, becomes a primary person of interest. Known for loitering near Terry Parker High, Hayes matches the hoodie-wearing man described by Mrs. Carter and was seen at the 7-Eleven days before Tina's disappearance, asking Clerk Hargrove about the red-headed cheerleader. Questioned on March 20th, Hayes claims he was at a bar on Atlantic Boulevard, O'Malley's Pub, from 6 to 9 p.m. on March 15th. The bartender, however, recalls Hayes leaving by 6:30 p.m., and no other patrons confirm his presence. A search of his Arlington apartment finds a pair of sneakers with soil matching the vacant lot's composition, but the soil, common red clay, is not unique. Hayes fails a polygraph. Citing nerves and his lack of a solid alibi keeps him under scrutiny, but no direct evidence ties him to Tina. He's released on March 22nd, though Mackesy keeps him on the radar. Carl Evans, a 22-year-old mechanic, emerges as another suspect. Spotted near Fort Caroline Road on March 15th by a gas station attendant, Evans drives a black Ford pickup resembling a vehicle seen near the vacant lot that night. With a 1980 arrest for stalking a 17-year-old girl in Arlington, Evans fits a troubling profile. Questioned on March 23rd, he claims he was fixing a friend's car in Riverside until 10 p.m., an alibi verified by the friend, though the friend's girlfriend later tells police he seemed jumpy that night. A search of Evans's truck and apartment finds no evidence, no hair, fibers, or blood linking to Tina. His tires don't match the partial track from the lot, and he's cleared, but remains a name in the case file. A third lead points to Bobby Lee Turner, a 35-year-old transient known for panhandling in Arlington. A witness, a retiree walking his dog, claims Turner was near the 7-Eleven on March 15th, carrying a duffel bag. Turner, with a history of petty theft, is located in Savannah, Georgia, on March 25th. He provides a bus ticket stub proving he left Jacksonville on March 14th, and Savannah police confirm he was panhandling there on March 15th. The JSO rules him out, but notes the transient population in Arlington, drawn by the port, complicates the case. Many potential witnesses are drifters, hard to track. Theories about Tina's fate multiply, each clouded by the lack of evidence. The leading hypothesis is a stranger abduction. The flashlight, cracked in the ditch, and the torn jacket suggest a violent struggle, possibly near the vacant lot. The cadaver dog's alert supports this, indicating Tina may have been attacked and her body moved. The St. Johns River, just a mile away, is a likely disposal site. Its currents could carry evidence far from Arlington. The Timucun Preserve, with its dense marshes or local landfills like one in Nassau County, are also searched based on tips about suspicious vehicles. A 1983 tip leads to a Nassau County dump where a worker reported a foul-smelling bag buried in March 1982. Excavation aided by heavy machinery finds only household waste. Another theory posits a targeted attack by someone Tina knew. The hang-up calls at Dairy Queen suggest a stalker, possibly a customer or acquaintance. The JSO investigates Mark Thompson, a 19-year-old Dairy Queen coworker who'd flirted with Tina and was teased by coworkers for his crush. Mark, questioned in April 1982, was in Miami visiting family on March 15th, with plane tickets and family testimony confirming his alibi. Brian, Tina's boyfriend, and an ex-boyfriend, Tommy Grayson, are re-interviewed, but both have solid alibis. Tommy was at a family dinner, verified by 6 relatives. The calls remain a dead end, as 1982 phone tracing requires real-time monitoring unavailable at Dairy Queen. A third theory, less likely but persistent, involves human trafficking. Jacksonville's port, a hub for international shipping, sees heavy traffic in 1982, and the FBI's trafficking report notes Florida as a hotspot. A tip in June 1982 claims a girl resembling Tina was seen at a truck stop near I-95, accompanied by an older man, but the lead fizzles when the girl is identified as a runaway from Tampa. The theory gains traction among locals, fueled by fear, but no evidence ties Tina to a trafficking network. A 1983 FBI memo notes the challenge. Without Tina's body or a witness, trafficking remains speculative. The McQuaig family's fight. The McQuaigs become tireless advocates for Tina. William, a burly man with calloused hands, takes unpaid leave from his garage to organize searches, driving his pickup to scour rural Nassau County and the beaches. Barbara, soft-spoken but resolute, spends hours at Kinko's printing flyers, her eyes red from sleepless nights. They appear on Good Morning America in May 1982 and PM Magazine in 1983, sharing Tina's story with millions. By 1985, their reward fund reaches $100,000, bolstered by community fundraisers, car washes, bake sales, and a charity run at Jacksonville Beach. In 1984, they found the Tina McQuaig Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to missing persons cases and school safety. The foundation funds searches for 5 other missing Floridians by 1986 and partners with schools to teach abduction prevention, reaching 10,000 students by 1990. The emotional toll is immense. William battles anxiety, his temper flaring when tips lead nowhere. He confides to a Times Union reporter in 1984, "I fix cars, but I can't fix this." Barbara keeps Tina's room untouched, her pom-poms on the bed, her Walkman on the nightstand, her sketchbook open to a half-finished drawing of a Labrador. Linda, Tina's sister, drops out of college to help search, riddled with guilt for not walking with Tina that night. James, the eldest sibling, becomes distant, burying himself in work, while Robert channels his grief into volunteering with the foundation. Annual vigils at Arlington Baptist Church draw hundreds, with candles illuminating Tina's photo, her smile a reminder of what's lost. Barbara tells WJXT in 1987, "Every knock at the door, I think it's her." Investigative renewals and technological advances. The case sees multiple revivals. In 1988, Detective Susan Miller, a rising star in the JSO's cold case unit, reopens the file. Miller, known for her empathy with victims' families, re-interviews key witnesses. Mrs. Carter, now 70, sticks to her story about the hoodie-wearing man, but admits her memory of his features has faded. Tommy Hargrove, the 7-Eleven clerk, now a teacher, recalls the man in the store more vividly, describing a scar above his left eyebrow, a detail he'd forgotten in 1982. Miller questions Ronnie Hayes, now 34, and serving time for a 1986 assault in Duval County. Hayes denies involvement, claiming he barely knew Tina, but fails another polygraph, blaming medication. A search of his current residence finds no new evidence, and Miller shifts focus to Carl Evans, who's moved to Alabama. Evans, now married, refuses to talk without a lawyer, but his 1982 alibi still holds. In 1995, a hiker in Fort Caroline National Memorial reports finding a buried sneaker, size 7, matching Tina's Keds. The JSO excavates using ground-penetrating radar, a new tool in 1995, but finds only animal bones and the sneaker, unrelated to the case. The effort, though fruitless, renews media interest, with Action News, Jax airing a special Tina McQuaig, 13 Years Gone. In 2010, the JSO's cold case unit, led by Detective Maria Lopez, retests Tina's jacket using advanced DNA techniques, hoping to isolate touch DNA. The jacket, stored in evidence since 1982, is degraded, and humidity has compromised potential profiles. Lopez also examines soil samples from the vacant lot, using spectrometry to identify chemical traces, but finds only common fertilizers. The rise of true crime media brings new attention. In 2019, the podcast Jacksonville's Lost, hosted by local journalist Emily Tran, dedicates a 10-episode season to Tina, garnering 4 million downloads by 2025. Tran interviews Tina's classmates who share stories of her kindness, like organizing a fundraiser for the animal shelter, and her fears about the Dairy Queen calls. A 2020 tip, spurred by the podcast, comes from a Jacksonville man who claims his deceased uncle, a truck driver, confessed in 1990 to hiding a girl in 1982. The JSO investigates, identifying the uncle as Harold Grayson, but his death in 1992 and lack of corroborating evidence close the lead. In 2023, the JSO partners with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, BAU, to create a psychological profile of Tina's abductor. The BAU suggests a local male, 20 to 35 in 1982, likely with a history of voyeurism or low-level assaults, possibly triggered by rejection. The profile fits Hayes and Evans, but lacks specificity to narrow the suspect pool. Forensic advancements offer hope, but no breakthroughs. In 2024, a tip about a body in the Timucuan Preserve prompts a search with drones and LiDAR, a laser-based mapping technology. The effort, spanning 500 acres, finds animal remains, but no human evidence. The JSO explores genetic genealogy, a technique used to solve the Golden State Killer case, but without a body or crime scene DNA, it's inapplicable. Ground-penetrating radar, now standard in cold case searches, is used again in 2025 to rescan the vacant lot, but urban development, new condos built in 2005, has altered the site, burying potential clues under concrete. Cultural and policy impact. Tina's case reshapes Jacksonville's approach to safety. Arlington installs 50 new streetlights along Fort Caroline and Merrill Roads by 1983, funded by a city grant spurred by community petitions. Terry Parker High implements a safety escort program requiring students to leave campus in groups after dark. The McQuaig Foundation becomes a regional force, supporting 15 missing persons cases by 1990 and funding Amber Alert precursors in Florida. William testifies before the Florida legislature in 1986, advocating for a statewide missing persons database, which passes in 1988 as the Florida Crime Information Center. The database, still active in 2025, helps locate 2,000 missing Floridians annually. The case also sparks a cultural reckoning. The Florida Times-Union runs a 1983 series, Jacksonville's Vulnerable Youth, examining how teens, especially girls, face risks in urban areas. The series prompts school workshops on stranger danger, with Tina's story as a cautionary tale. Online, Reddit's r Unsolved Mysteries and X posts keep the case alive, with users debating a serial killer theory, linking Tina's disappearance to unsolved cases in Daytona Beach, 1981, and Gainesville, 1983. A 2023 X thread by @JacksColdCases, with 10,000 likes, speculates about a transient predator, citing Arlington's proximity to I-95. While compelling, no evidence confirms a serial connection. The McQuaigs in 2025. Today, William and Barbara, both in their late 70s, live in the same Lone Star Road home, its paint faded but Tina's room preserved. William, slowed by arthritis, still drives to the Timucuan Preserve monthly, searching trails with a walking stick. Barbara maintains the Tina McQuaig Foundation, now run by Linda, who returned to Jacksonville in 2015 after years in Atlanta. The foundation's website, tinamcquaigfoundation.org, logs 50,000 visits annually, with a tip portal linked to the JSO. In a 2025 Florida Times-Union interview, Barbara says, "Tina's still with us somewhere. I feel her when I see her sketches. The family keeps her cheer uniform and sketchbook in a glass case, a shrine to her memory. The proofless nature of Tina's case lies in its enduring mysteries. Was she taken by a stranger like Hayes, a local like Evans, or a transient like Turner? Did she fall victim to a crime of opportunity or a targeted act? The St. Johns River, the Timucuan Preserve, or an unknown landfill may hold her remains, but without a body, the truth remains elusive." The McQuaigs hold annual vigils, now live-streamed on X, drawing global support. A 2025 vigil, attended by 500 people, features a new mural of Tina at Arlington Baptist, her freckled smile painted above the words, "Never Forgotten." Criminological perspectives. To understand Tina's case, I consulted Dr. Rachel Harmon, a criminologist at the University of Florida, who specializes in missing persons cases. Harmon notes that 1982 abductions often involved opportunistic predators exploiting areas with low visibility, like Fort Caroline Road. Tina's case fits a pattern, Harmon says. A young woman, alone at dusk in a transitional area, part residential, part commercial. Predators target these zones. She points to the lack of forensic tools in 1982, no DNA profiling, no GPS tracking, as a barrier, but stresses that modern technology like isotopic analysis of soil or advanced facial recognition could still yield clues if new evidence emerges. Harmon also highlights the psychological toll on families, noting that ambiguous loss, grief without closure, can be more debilitating than confirmed death, as the McQuaigs' decades-long search illustrates. The BAU's 2023 profile adds depth. The abductor, likely male and local, may have known Tina's routine, possibly through Dairy Queen or school events. The hang-up calls suggest fixation, a common trait in stalking cases that escalate to violence. Harmon speculates the perpetrator may have had a history of rejection, targeting Tina after her polite rebuff. This aligns with Ronnie Hayes' profile, though evidence remains circumstantial. The profile also notes the abductor's likely familiarity with Arlington, choosing a disposal site like the river or preserve to evade detection. Jacksonville's lasting echoes. Tina's disappearance is more than a mystery. It's a wound that reshaped a city. The streetlights, the safety escorts, the missing persons database, all trace back to a 16-year-old who vanished on a spring evening. Her case exposed vulnerabilities in a growing city where urban sprawl met rural expanses, creating blind spots for crime. It also highlighted the power of community, from the volunteers who searched marshes to the donors who funded rewards. Yet, the absence of Tina's body keeps the case in limbo, a proofless puzzle that defies resolution. For listeners, Tina's story is a call to action. The JSO's Cold Case Unit, reachable at 904-630-0500, welcomes tips no matter how small. The Tina McQuaig Foundation's website, tinamcquaigfoundation.org, offers resources and a tip portal. Share your thoughts on our website, prooflesspodcast.com, or on X using the hashtag TinaMcQuaig. Theories persist. On Reddit, users like You Florida Sleuth propose a connection to a 1980s serial predator, while X posts from @MissingInJax urge new searches with drones. Each tip, each share, keeps Tina's name alive. That's all for the 23rd episode of Proofless. Tina Marie McQuaig's disappearance is a tragedy that shook a coastal city and exposed the fragility of youth. Her smile, her dreams, her sketches, they endure in the hearts of those who loved her. If you have information, contact the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office or visit tinamcquaigfoundation.org. Join us next time for another journey into the unknown. Until then, keep searching for answers.